Welcome to the Snetterton 300 circuit here in Norfolk on a sunny weekend for rounds 10, 11 and 12 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC here in 2025. We have been absolutely treated to some wonderful weather to go racing this weekend, and the championship is hotting up as well. The driver to beat at the moment, Daniel Ginchard, that man right there. He leads the way but is being chased hard by the three drivers of Elite Motorsport, among other drivers on the grid. But let's look back at Alton Park's rounds 7, 8 and 9 of the Championship and the highlights there.
Highlights then from round 7 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. In very tricky, very wet conditions, the race down into the first corner would see Ginchard going all over the place after dropping back from the pole position, as Jason Pribble would have a big moment on the slick tyres into the first corner. Was able to keep it out of the gravel though once he'd leave that gravel trap. Of course, there was a big move for the race lead, straight around the outside, going from 6th all the way up to 1st. It was Alex O'Grady on the wet tyres, moving his way through the order and getting past those two elite cars that were going side by side and their run into the Britain chicane. This moment would have Luca Magnussen in the 23 black, white and red car trying to work his way through the middle of. However, he'd have to be a little bit more patient. Would make the move though by the time he got onto the brakes into Hislops, would open the door, and it was Magnussen working his way through into 2nd. Bit of contact there between Taylor and Ari Bansal. There was Taylor dropping backwards down the order as they were all struggling with the very tricky and very greasy conditions. It was a big move though for 3rd position, as straight around the outside it was the KMR sport car of Megan Bruce onto the final step of the podium, getting past Bostanciev there. Unfortunately, this spin for Taylor would see the end of his race. A bit of a slide and he would get beached on there. A couple of other issues as well for Dayton Coulthard and Leandro Juncos would bring out the safety car. They'd be back going again. It was Alex O'Grady with the control with 3 laps left to go in the race, was able to run away and pull clear. Big slide coming in and a big and awkward spin from Hilton, as he would be able to get back going again after that one. Pribble also having a bit of a moment again in the very awkward and greasy conditions of that final corner, would struggle to even get up the hill with how wet and greasy it was. Onto the brakes and then into the hairpin. Big moves coming in from Taylor, who was a lap down at this point but on the wet tyres. He was working his way through comfortably on Catulus and the likes. Big moment as well late on as a big lock up in a battle for 6th position. It was Wilson going straight on, McLean coming through and then squeezing him off on the exit of the corner. Raven Dobson would nearly work his way through and they would cross over the line. Of course, the race victory, it was Alex O'Grady. Fantastic drive, dominant drive, and his win. Into the first corner, it was Ginchard leading from pole position as he got onto the brakes and flicked it through the opening corner. The big struggle at the start of the race though was Isaac Phelps down the order a couple of spots as Leandro Juncos was working his way forward. Hill speed getting the car all fired up as he'd work his way through into 3rd position with a big move down the inside of Ari Bansal. It wasn't too long before he was trying to make this move on Catulus. In the tricky low grip conditions, he was able to work his way over the nose of the elite car and was up into 3rd position before Ari Bansal would fire his way around the outside and would drop it off the circuit, promoting the elite driver up into 2nd. There was an unfortunate moment though for the number 44 of Mayor Dian Areen, who would be off the road, causing a safety car and meaning that they'd have to get their tyres all fired up once again with just 5 and a bit minutes left to go. Big moment between the two elite cars, saw Ari Bansal off the road for the 2nd time basically at the Shell Oils hairpin as he'd drag his way back onto the circuit. There was another big off, that one for Jack Taylor, as he'd be off and would touch the barrier himself, basically retiring him from the race. There was Leandro Juncos then defending like his life depended on it for 2nd position, keeping the number 51 of Alex Catulus at bay. Alex O'Grady was looking for the podium, and with this move he'd find it. Big one down the inside to the Old Hall corner of the first turn on the circuit. He'd be firing through and we're onto the podium with the 2 elite hill speed cars. It was Dan Ginchard up towards the line to take victory once again. Highlights from round 9 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, and with 5 cars starting on the grid and 19 from the pit lane courtesy of late changes on tyres. They were racing down to the first corner with Thomas Ingram Hill taking over the race lead. Once they'd got into the first corner, the 19 cars were released from pit lane, ready to go and catch those 5 that had already been able to build up some heat in the tyres courtesy of the formation laps. Enzo Holman though was trying to retake over what was effectively the race lead from pole position as he goes straight around the outside at Druids. They'd still be side by side though as they head into the final corner at Lodge, and Enzo Holman desperate to try and get ahead of the number 8 Fortec car of Thomas Ingram Hill. This would open the door for Dayton Coulthard to come through to make it a Douglas 1-2, and that was all Enzo Holman needed to try and check out into the distance. Behind though, it was chaos. Jason Pribble off the road as the race start was underway. He'd be passed all the way down to about 12th or 13th position. Meanwhile, everyone else was trying to find their way through. Luca Magnussen off the road and into the gravel whilst trying to go around the outside of Alex Katulis as they were battling outside of the top 10. Dan Ginchard, though, had a great drive, was working his way up. This was the move for 3rd position as he'd fly around the outside. Later in the race, though, a gamble going on to slick tyres from Callum Baxter. He was flying past Ginchard and was flying up to the race lead. It wouldn't be enough, though. The race slightly too short for Callum Baxter as across the line comes the number 7 after an epic drive. There was still plenty of drama though behind as we'd see this gap come down to just a 10th of a second with Holman crossing the line as victory. This was the gap for second place. Coulthard in second and Baxter just about in 3rd spot, but it was Holman victorious.
Wow, what a crazy race weekend that was at Alton Park. The weather throwing a few spanners in for the drivers. Tyre choice was critical to a good weekend, and drivers of the likes of Alex O'Grady, who took a 1st and a 2nd in race 1 and race 2, have found themselves higher up the order than they started the weekend. Also Enzo Holman as well, who we're looking forward to catching up with later this weekend. He had a good weekend as well, getting a couple of good results. His first win in the championship and another podium to add to the podium he got at the first round of the season as well. We're looking forward to some good racing here at the Snetterton 300 circuit. However, the weather, I don't think those wet tyres are going to be used this weekend, that's for certain. 27 degrees air temperature here at the moment, looking for similar conditions again tomorrow. So rather than wet conditions, we're going to be looking forward to, or the drivers are going to be thinking about preserving these Pirelli slick tyres. You can see some brand new tyres on Leandro Juncos' car here. He qualified 3rd position for his best qualifying this year so far. We'll get onto the grid and this race later on. But before we start talking about the race ahead, we've got a bumper grid this weekend, 24 drivers on the grid, up there with the highest grids we've had in previous years. And to bump that grid up, we've had some new drivers, including a young driver who's making his car racing debut, let alone his GB4 racing debut this year, and that is Dudley Ruddock. Dudley, great to have you in the GB4 Championship. I hear that this could well be your first car race this weekend.
Yep, that's true.
But it's not the first time you've been racing. Of course, you've got some other racing experience. Tell us, tell those at home that don't know you so well, what you've done before.
Yeah, so I've started karting when I was 15. I'm 19 now, so I've had a few years under my belt. I started, when I was 15, for my 15th birthday, I started Team Sport. Yeah. To kind of get a taste for what motorsport felt like. And when it started to kind of stick, so I kind of wanted to progress to outdoor. Had a year in rentals, and then I moved to owner driver in Rotax. And my local track at Wright House is where I started. I raced there for a year. I did win my first championship, and then I came 3rd the following one. And then through that, I wanted to progress after, and I kind of wanted to get out of go-karts and wanted to get into a car. So now I'm here.
Now you are here, and it's going to be a very intense weekend, both on and off circuit for yourself, getting used to a lot. You're coming into this weekend somewhat prepared though. You've worked with Arden before this weekend as well.
Yeah, we've done a few days of testing. We did come here on the pre-season testing. I wouldn't say pre-season, I mean it's just
Mid-season testing.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. And then we did a few tests at other tracks. But yeah, I've only, I think, 3 days I've had in this car, so still quite new, but I'm getting to grips with it now.
How are you finding the car so far? It's a big step up from karting, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's a big step up. It's definitely, it's a lot to take in. The weight of the car and how it transfers through the track is completely different. With a Rotax, you just fling it in a corner and pray. But with these, you really have to think it out and place it together.
Especially at Wright House, your home circuit. I've driven Rotax there. I'm an Essex boy like yourself. You really do have to hustle it around there. I assume there's a bit more finesse that goes into this.
Yeah, I think with Wright House, you just launch over the curbs and just, But no, here it's a lot more technical with how much steering input you put in, your braking. It all comes down to tenths of a second, and something tiny will just make a lot of a difference.
And then this is your first race weekend in GB4. I know you've worked with the team before, but what's your plan going forward? What are you hoping to achieve from this season and maybe even going forward into your career?
I think Regarding this year, I think just learn. I think starting mid-season. I haven't got any experience compared to anyone like who I'm racing with, and so I'm kind of on the back foot. So any day's a learning day, and so I want to kind of set up myself for next year to hopefully race in GB4. But with the results, I think just as long as I'm going forward, I can't complain.
Dudley, good luck in your first race weekend in a car and also in GB4, and hopefully we'll see you back again soon.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Great to see some new faces on the grid. Dudley Ruddock there racing for Arden this weekend. His first car race weekend, so he's got a lot to think about this weekend. I'm joined by regular to the shows, normally on track, Joseph Loke. Joseph Loke, you're coaching here in GB4 for the Fortec Motorsport team. First of all, we've just spoken about Dudley Ruddock. We'll get on to this weekend, but let's look back at Alton Park. We just had the highlight. That was a tricky weekend from the team's point of view, with wets and slicks and the decisions being made. But your team made a pretty good decision in race number 1. Luca Magnusson on the podium in that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, first of all, it's a shame Luca's not here this weekend. Would have been really cool to see him here. He tested a couple of weeks ago and he was really quick, so would have been a shame. Would have been good, and it is a shame.
We wish him well, of course. He's illness grounds.
Yes, of course. Alton was crazy. Obviously, from a team's side, I was one of the guys that was trying to make the right decision. Obviously, working with Luca and Jack Taylor. And yeah, we kind of just rolled the dice with them, and we didn't really know what we were doing, but I don't think anyone did.
No, it was very much 50-50, wasn't it? For race 1 and race 3.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's what made it quite exciting to watch, really. I mean, obviously, once the cars have gone, it's just kind of, I'm a spectator, really, so I was having a lot of fun watching. Yeah,
you're coaching the Fortec team. You were there at Alton Park. You're here this weekend as well. What sort of things are you talking about with the drivers this weekend? Very different challenge, Alton Park to Snetterton, and also with the conditions as well.
Absolutely. Obviously, Snetterton's all about momentum and kind of being really smooth throughout the lap, and that's something we've been working on, especially with Jack. I think that's something that helps him in a lot of places. He can really, throw the car about, but around here it can hurt him a bit. So he's been working really hard. He's made big steps forwards. Just in qualifying, we didn't quite go with the track grip, so it was tough for him. But it's nice to see Tom improving. Tom's made a big step forward this weekend, but he's the opposite. He's really smooth, and a track like this suits him very well.
Yes, and it's great to have your expertise for the team. There's a lot of driver coaches up and down the grid with the teams. You actually, of course, were a championship challenger in GB3 in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. But you've gone on to some pretty cool things. Just a bit of self-promotion. What have you been up to recently? You've been a busy man.
Yeah, so I'm racing GT World Challenge with Garage 59 and McLaren Junior Pro. So yeah, it's going really well. We had round 1 at Paul Ricard. We qualified well, didn't finish due to a mechanical. Monza, we were on the podium, P2, and then at Spa, the 24 hours, which, first of all, mental event.
Your first 24 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, first race longer than 3 hours for me, so that was tough. But no, it was awesome. I really enjoyed it, and we were on pole overall, which was absolutely incredible. Then to finish P6 at my first attempt, we had a puncture in the middle of the night that took us away from the podium. But it was absolutely mental. Just the whole atmosphere of Spa is incredible.
It's great to see drivers like yourselves. There's a number of drivers as well that have been in this paddock and then gone on to bigger and better things, and hopefully this is just a start for you. You're a McLaren Works driver now, so what's the rest of the season looking like for you?
So the rest of the season, I've only got 2 rounds left. I've got the Nürburgring, just the GP, unfortunately. The Nordschleife would be awesome, but
one day.
Yeah, one day, maybe next year. I'll get on the phone to Rob Bell and see if he does it. But yeah, so we've got Nürburgring and then Barcelona is the last round. So yeah, just kind of full focus into them. I think we'll be quite quick, so see if we can get on the podium a few times.
Just a quick one for this weekend, bring it back now here to Snetterton. What do you think is going to be the key for your drivers and everyone on the grid to getting a good result this weekend?
I think part 1's already done, I think. Qualifying is very important around here. I think in the race you can make moves around here. You just got to be smart. Like I said before, this track's about momentum. So if you go for a move and don't quite commit, you're going to be struggling for the next, few corners. You're going to be on the back foot. You're going to be going backwards until you can flip that around again. So I think keeping that forward momentum for the drivers is important. So as long as they keep moving forwards, I think they'll be fine.
Joseph, thank you so much for joining us. I'll let you go off and do your coaching duties once again. Joseph Loke, former championship challenger in GB3 in 2023, coaching this season with Fortec Motorsport. Great to hear from him what he's getting up to and also how he's helping the drivers as well this weekend. Moving forward in the show, we've heard from one new driver in Dudley Ruddock. We've got another new driver who was tested previously in GB4, but makes her debut race weekend in GB4 this weekend. That's Flame Airikkala. Flame, it's not the first time we've met, but it's the first time we've seen you at a GB4 race weekend now. How does it feel to be on the grid for a proper, in anger?
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's been a long time coming. Doing a few tests last year and now jumping straight in the car. First time in this new GB4 car, and it's definitely really fun to drive. Definitely a challenge, but I'm working on it and I'm getting there, so I'm looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, I can see you've got a smile on your face. You're clearly enjoying the car. Give us an idea of how much running you've done ahead of this weekend.
Yeah, so in this car I was testing here on Wednesday, yesterday and today, and that's really all I've had in this car so far. So definitely a lot to take in, but I'm trying my best and I'm enjoying it. So
quite literally a baptism of fire as well, with the heat as well. I imagine it's pretty hard work behind the wheel.
yeah, definitely in this heat, England is not used to it. I'm not used to it. I'm used to Finnish weather, cold and snow, so
And let's talk about that. You're a British-Finnish driver. You've got Finnish heritage and also a fair amount of racing heritage as well.
yeah, so my dad's Finnish, my mum's English. I've lived in the UK my whole life, but we have a summer house in Finland, so I go there every year. And then my dad's dad, my granddad, was a world rally driver, Pentti Airikkala, so it's really nice to carry on that kind of legacy in the motorsport world.
Yes. Hopefully we won't see you sliding around quite as much as he did, but you're also a little bit familiar with some sliding around. You mentioned a moment ago you've actually been here racing before, but not in a GB4 car.
Yeah, so my first taste of kind of rallying, because I really wanted to experiment in that kind of world following in my grandfather's footsteps, was in Finland on the snow and ice in a Rally 3 car, and that was just amazing. So I thought I'd have a go at some stage rallying here in the UK, so I did here at Snetterton and at Knockhill, one in a Fiesta Rally 3 and one in a MG3 challenge car, and so that was a really great experience.
Car control won't be an issue this weekend then, but you also do have some on-circuit experience as well. For those who maybe haven't seen your career so far, give us a rundown of what your experience is.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of karting at the start. I started quite late at 14 years old, but it came from me. And then I jumped into Fiesta Junior Championship, so obviously front wheel drive, a lot different to jumping then straight into a rear wheel drive car. But I've really enjoyed the change, and I think that's the route I want to go down at the moment. So, and then also this year I've done a bit in a Radical, which is really fun. They're really great cars to drive. The championship's really well run, so that's been good. And my last race weekend was out at Snetterton in the Radicals, so at least it's good to get a bit of track time.
A bit of race experience at Snetterton, I'm sure, will be helpful. And then going forward after this weekend, maybe the rest of this year and 26 and beyond, what are your hopes for this year and beyond?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm hoping to do as much experience as I can in the F4 GB4 car. So, and then looking on to next year, trying to find a full season drive is my aim.
Amazing. Well, Flame, we'll hopefully see you back this year and maybe even next year as well. Great to have you on the grid.
Thank you so much.
Great to have Flame on the grid this weekend. The grid growing as ever here in the GB4 Championship, a bumper grid here at Snetterton. And she'll be looking forward to making strides through the grid. And she's got a good racing pedigree, as we just heard about. Another driver that I wanted to bring attention to is the number 32, Luke Hilton, right behind us here. He definitely took a step forward last time out at Alton Park. Struggled, wrong tyre choice in race number 1, but race 2, 5th place, race 3, 7th place. Has had some difficult moments mid-season, started this year really strong, potentially hasn't lived up to the pace he's shown in testing at times, but really getting to grips with it. He's another driver that's racing Radicals. There he is, getting himself ready. I won't chat to him ahead of this race because I've spoken to him and his team a number of times this season right before the races, and I'm a bit of a bad luck chart, so hopefully he'll have a good one going from 5th place in this race. But he's qualified strongly in this race, and I caught up with him ahead of this weekend as well. Luke, heading into a warm Snetterton this weekend, but let's look back at Alton Park. I think a real step forward this year for you.
Yeah, I'd say like the development over the years definitely coming along, especially with a new car. Alton Park was really good. Not an ideal race one. Couldn't really make the proper judgment of the weather because it wasn't really raining in the assembly area, so we just bowled on slicks and obviously it rained. Race 2 was good. Had not a great qualifying, but we managed to chip away into race 2, making up a few places from 9th to 5th. Last race, started front row, and then it started to rain on the outlap, so just had to go wet tyres. Started 21st, and then chipped our way through to 7th place, so that wasn't too bad of a race.
I think it was a good weekend, considering that the conditions were changeable and a lot of it you couldn't really prepare for, but coming into this weekend, a lot more prepared, I know.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we've had some really good preparation over these few weeks that we've had. Like, we've had 2 test days here and we've been really, really strong, so hopefully we can carry that over to this weekend and hopefully we can get some decent results.
I know you said to me off camera a moment ago as well, you've been using this time off, you've not just had your feet up.
Yeah, every day it's non-stop, gym, sim, many hours, trying to prepare for these rounds. Obviously, like, the cardio is going to be massive here this weekend. Also, dietary intake is going to be massive because of how hot it is. Like, water's so key. So, yeah, I've really prepped myself for this weekend, so hopefully it's good.
Yeah, you said about the diet there. What sort of things are you going to be eating and avoiding, just for people who maybe haven't ever raced a race car when it's over 30 degrees?
So, like, you want to eat many carbs during the night, so then the digested, sorry. And then you want to eat fruit and small little bits during the day, so then they don't sit heavy in your stomach. Also, drink loads of water. Maybe have some electrolytes, so then you don't wash all the salts out. So yeah, just little stuff like that.
Of course, Snetterton this weekend, but we've got a long way to the season to go. Big step forward last time out. What are you looking for the second half of this year?
Hoping we can rebound and start getting some podiums. So, like, hopefully we can start chipping away, getting clean races, and yeah, looking for wins and podiums. So,
brilliant. Thanks very much, Luke. Luke Hilton there for Douglas Motorsport, definitely taking a step forward this weekend. As you can see him in the background, just getting ready for the race. We're mere moments away from round 10 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC in 2025. We've spoken a lot about the drivers so far and the ups and downs of this season so far. We're here at Snetterton 300 circuit, so in a moment I'm going to hand to Chris McCarthy, who's going to talk you through all the details of the circuit, and then we're going to ride on board with this man here, Ari Bansal, our pole sitter.
It's a quick run through the right-hander to kick us off here at Riches, and then into the first big overtaking zone down at Wilson. There's a lot of places to overtake around here at the Snetterton 300. One of them straight at Agostini. The run through Oggies and Williams, crucial to get you a good run down the Bentley straight, where we're going to see lots of slipstreaming to set up an overtake down at Nelson. Bombhole, one of the trickiest corners on the circuit, but it leads into the long right-hander at Coram, and then into the tight left at Murray's, and down the centre straight, where we could see the winner decided in a slipstream battle. This, the Snetterton 300 circuit, where we first began racing in GB4 back in 2022. Now 75 races in. How will the racing be different in these brand new cars? That is a look at the Snetterton 300 circuit.
Let's ride on board pole sitter Ari Bansal for Elite Motorsport here at the Snetterton 300 circuit. A long run down towards turn 1 and Riches, an overtaking opportunity just to breathe on the throttle through there. Very committed car moving around underneath him. Turn number 2, a big braking zone down towards here. This will be the main overtaking opportunity during the race. A late apex through there and using all of the road on the exit. Watch out for track limits on the exit as well. Turn number 3, slightly banked on the way in, and then the car goes light on the exit. Once again, track limits comes up quickly, so be mindful of that. Watch out for that in qualifying and the races. Agostini next, turn number 4, another braking zone with a late apex. He'll miss the first part of the corner, come back for the second apex, and then once again all the curb, but no more on the exit. Hamilton, just to breathe on the throttle, very committed through here, right up against the tyre stack at the apex. Oggie's next, an awkward bump under braking with a double apex corner come to the right. First apex hit, second apex not. Now we head onto the back straight, a corner that feels like it goes on forever. Squeeze the throttle to get a good exit down the back straight. You'll see drivers weaving left and right during the race to keep the slipstream. An overtaking opportunity into Brundle and Nelson can be done on the inside and the outside here. Brake as the shadow goes over the car. Keep it left through the left-hander to open up the right-hander. Very tricky and easy to run wide on the exit. Next up, the bum hole. Undulation through here, drops down at the apex, car bottoms out, easily flat in these GB4 cars. Coram, another corner that feels like it goes on forever, absolutely kills the left-hand side tyres. Then we brake and turn at the same time, the car squirming underneath him for the last corner of the circuit. That is a lap of the Snetterton 300 circuit in the new for 2025 GB4 car with our pole sitter, Ari Bansal. That was a lap of the Snetterton 300 circuit, a very technical circuit. There's lots of the drivers to do around here. Hard to overtake, but it is possible. We heard from Joseph Loke earlier on about that, and also it's a circuit where you really need to carry a lot of speed, and the man that carried the most speed was Ari Bansal, and it's not the Ari Bansal show, although it may as well be, because he's going from pole position, and I caught up with him and got his immediate reaction after he got that pole position for the first time in GB4. Ari, pole position for race number 1 here at Snetterton. It was a close session, but you must be very happy with that.
Yes, very happy. Yeah, it was a double pole also, so that sets me up very nicely for race 1 and race 2. Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. It's made my life much easier.
Absolutely, it'll be easier going from the front of the grid. You were quick in testing leading up to this event, but the time's much faster in qualifying this morning than we saw yesterday.
Yes, I think because the British GT and all the other classes before us were doing their qualifying sessions, so yeah, it completely changed the track and the grip has, I guess, upped massively.
And did you change anything overnight to account for those condition changes?
No, not really, just driving. Yeah, just driving, yeah.
You mentioned it already, pole for race 2 as well. That surely is going to set you up well for a good weekend.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to but hopefully wins.
Absolutely, and we've seen you, of course, very fast throughout this year so far already, a number of events, taking a victory, obviously, the second race of the year. Are you looking to try and take more victories this weekend?
Yes, for sure. I think, yeah, why not?
Absolutely. And then looking ahead to the rest of the season as well, I think you started really well at the start of the year, but you've had some difficult races in between then and now. What's going to be your outlook going forward?
Going forward, hopefully replicating what I've done here today, and yes, that's always the aim. Yes.
Ari, pole position for race 1 and race 2. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
So we're in the assembly area now, the drivers are in the cars, the engines are on. We're looking ahead now to round number 10 in the GB4 Championship. Interesting note before we go hand up to Chris for the commentary of the race, 6 brand new Pirelli tyres for these drivers in the GB4 Championship. Some drivers choosing to use the 2 additional new tyres they have available to them, including Leandro Juncos from 3rd place on the grid. You can see on the left-hand side of the car, he's got those brand new slick tyres, so watch out for him to be quick at the start of the race. But I think it's about time we go racing for round 10 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC.
Well, this where the GB4 Championship began racing back in 2022, and this weekend we will celebrate 75 races of this championship, which has put drivers on the road to F1, the road to Le Mans and the road to IndyCar, and even in the British Touring Car Championship, which races around this famous circuit. Of course, one that provides so many overtaking opportunities, so many challenges to these drivers, and one that could see a slipstream battle down that famous Senna Straight. It's going to be a fantastic battle around the Snetterton 300 circuit. Almost feels like it's been built for these new GB4 cars, and how will they compare to the ones that we went racing on when we have come here in recent years. That is the Snetterton 300 circuit. This race 74 of the GB4 Championship. And will we have more history written today? Well, that could happen with Leandro Juncos, who starts from the inside of row 2. Can he put the Argentinian flag on the top step for the very first time? It was a 4th different pole sitter in as many rounds. Ari Bansal taking his first pole position, and a first for the team as well. Ari Bansal doing a great job there for Elite Motorsport, doing a superb job. It's making it an elite 1-2 out front. They've done a superb job so far this season in terms of consistency. They've always been up there. So Ari Bansal making it 4 pole sitters in as many rounds. We've had Isaac Phelps starting alongside him, who's third in the championship. Didn't get on the podium though at the last round, so we'll see how Isaac Phelps can recover from that in terms of points this time. And then we've got the Argentinian Leandro Juncos starting on row 2 with the championship leader Dan Kinchard, who starts on the second row as the championship leader. 24 drivers out there, 2 of them with us for the very first time. 18 minutes of racing in the GB4 Championship. If you're new, welcome to you. Points go to your top 20. It is 18 minutes rather than 18 minutes plus a lap. So we do race to time in this championship. This is essentially the first step into single-seater racing for these drivers. There is no use of DRS if you are familiar to watching the very top flight of our sport. These are the drivers stepping in to single-seater racing for the very first time. But as I said at the top of the show, we now have drivers racing on the road to F1, the road to Le Mans, even the road to IndyCar, and Joseph Loke went and put it on pole position at the 24 Hours of Spa, a driver who has come through and raced in the likes of GB3, which is essentially where all these drivers are looking to go next. They are looking to come through this championship and into the GB3 Championship. And our top female driver will be given €50,000 worth of prize money to help them go and get on to the road to F1 and on the F1 Academy grid, which we are seeing Alicia Palmovsky doing a fantastic job with already. A winner back at China, has been on the podium as well. She part of the Red Bull Racing outfit, and what a superb job she is doing. Alicia, if you're watching, we're all very proud of how you're getting on and look forward to seeing how the next drivers do. I'm going to run through the grid for you. It's Ari Bansal and Isaac Phelps on row 1, Leandro Juncos and Dan Ginchard on row 2, Luke Hilton and Alex O'Grady row 3. Alex O'Grady, 2 podiums for him last time. Alex Catula second in the championship alongside Thomas Ingram Hill, a PB for him, looking for a first podium. Then one of our winners from last time, Enzo Hellman, is alongside Leon Wilson, looking for a first podium on row 5. Alex Berg, round 3 winner, is on row 6 with Jack Taylor. And then we have Dayton Coulthard, a first podium for him last time. He's alongside Jason Pribble. Then Stefan Bostandiev and Callum Baxter are row 8. Joshua McLean and Avon Dobson are row 9. Flame Airikkala is making her debut on row 10 with Lily Mae Watkins. And then it's Dudley Ruddock also making debut alongside Holly Mile. The back row, Megan Bruce and Caitlin McDaniel. Megan taking a 5-place grid drop from the last round. The format, essentially, they go 1 qualifying. The fastest laps has set this grid. The second fastest laps will set race 2 for tomorrow. Then we reverse the top 12. Piers Prior, welcome to the commentary box, almost going as fast as the GB4 drivers. What is the challenge out front for Ari Bansal to hold on to that lead?
He needs to get away well from the front of the field. We know that in single-seater racing, that the start is crucial. He's done half of the job, as we heard from Joseph Loke say. He's qualified well. But he needs to get away. He's going to be pushed hard by his teammate Isaac Phelps, separated by mere hundredths throughout testing and qualifying. Look out for their teammate Alex Catoulis in the third of those yellow Elite Motorsport cars. You can see him on the third row of the grid there. He'll be making his way through, I think, judging on his pace. But also those 2 hill speeds on row 2. They are racy. Looking forward to this one. Juncos also with his remaining brand new tyres, the 2 tyres on the outside, the left-hand side of his car. So he'll have a bit more tyre grip at this stage of the weekend than the drivers on the front row, Phelps and Bansal, will have those to use either in race 2 or race 3. But look out for Juncos, especially on the first lap.
18 minutes of racing coming up. To the left of picture, and on pole position will be Ari Bansal. To the right is Isaac Phelps, and we are go for the first time this weekend at Snetterton 300 in the GB4 Championship. It looked like a clean start from the field, and the number 46 yellow elite car of Ari Bansal sweeps through the first corner and has got to jump over his teammate Isaac Phelps, and there will be no need to defend down in towards the hairpin there, but under pressure is Isaac Phelps. He certainly had to get on the defensive for the first time as the field makes its way through the first 2 corners, and it's looked like a clean start for the field, and Ari Mary Bansell already escaping away out front, Piers Prior.
Yeah, our championship leader Dan Ginchard in the red Hill Speed car there in third place. He's had a good start. As we see Jason Pribble running wide over the curb in the back of shots. But a good start for the Hill Speed driver. Hunkos actually not having the best start, dropping a couple of positions. And we see the side-by-side, the two Fortec Motorsport drivers of Ingram Hill in the 8 and the 50 of Jack Taylor. They're still going side-by-side towards Hamilton.
Yeah, it's a little bit congested there, so we can see the number 8 of Thomas Ingram Hill pushing on to try and get what would be a first podium for him. Great shots of the cars making their way now through onto Bentley Straight, and this is where you want to be able to take advantage. Cars already trying to break the toe. There is Hunkos out front. Are we going to see teammates trying to work together just to break away? Dan Ginchard showing himself in the mirrors there in third place. Of second place, Isaac Phelps. Two of the drivers fighting up front in this championship, and Ginchard trying to be a little bit authoritative. Let's look back at this race start.
Yeah, here we go. This is where the right.
That's
a big jump start, unfortunately, from Leandro Hunkos. Actually, I think that hindered his eventual start. But started out of position. I expect to see a penalty coming his way. Let's watch that again. Lights hadn't gone out. No one else moved. Really unfortunate.
Now, was there a slight jump from Mary Bansell there as well? I'd love to see that replay again.
Jason Pribble for the third time on the first lap, running wide over the curves on the exit and getting his front wheels airborne to the floor of that ADM car, getting pounded on the first lap. But he's still running well. Looking back at the field, Luke Hilton now under pressure from Hunkos, who we expect will be getting a penalty. I'll keep you informed of any information from race control.
Eyes are on the timing screens next to me for Piers Prior. I don't know if we saw the same there for our pole sitter. Wouldn't like to speculate though. We will just keep an eye on what comes through, but certainly I think we could all see that Hunkos had sadly jumped the start and immediately and effectively put his hands up by stopping the car, but we'd expect a penalty to come his way.
Yeah.
Well, that's a real shame for him, but you get 3 stabs at it over the course of a GB4 Championship weekend, and that is the good part of this format. Only one qualifying session, so a lot goes on the drivers. There's 1 or 2 drivers running wide, one of the Ardent cars running wide there and going straight on.
That's the 55 of Ava Dobson, just getting a bit hot into Oggies there and running through the dirt. The driver that's raced this year already in the F1 Academy. She's doing a full season in the GB4 Championship, as well as using all of the road going into Brundle and Nelson was Bansell. Actually, Phelps looks like he's got better pace at this stage of the race. Phelps 2/10 faster in that first sector alone. I expect him to have closed again by the visual gap that I'm seeing in the back, in the field at the front. Phelps in that 35 car. Bansell currently in the lead in the 46. Bansell, the Indian driver. He's taken podiums this year. He's been fast at points, but actually is the lowest down, I think, of all 3 of them in the championship this year so far. Yes, he is. Isaac Phelps sitting 3rd, Bansell sitting 4th. And interestingly, we've got one of the drivers, yes, our championship leader, Dan Ginchard. I spoke to him just before the race off camera, and I said, are you going to give us a show in this one? He said, always do. He's a racer at heart, very successful karting career in the UK, and he's using that experience from karting and also his F4 experience. I think it's his 3rd year at this sort of level, so very experienced driver at this level, and is pushing on, leading his team. Still, there's pressure on for 4th place as we see Pribble fighting with the 48 Fox car there of Holly Mild.
Yeah, and the 2 leaders out front here. Now, are we going to see a mounted attack from Phelps? It seems Ginchard is just watching on in 3rd. For reference, we've got 1st in the championship, 3rd on the road, 4th in the championship leading, and then 2nd and 3rd in the championship, 2nd on the road. So these are the contenders. Where's the outlier, I hear you ask? Well, that is Alex Katoulis, Piers, and currently he's down in P7, so not the best of qualifyings, but just trying to work his way through in terms of progress. Hasn't made much as of yet, but it's tightening up in 4th place. I can see that's Hilton being forced to defend, and there's Katoulis in the yellow elite car. Camera's picking him up just on time for us, and the pressure's on here, where you can see his championship rivals battling up front. What's going to be going through his mind?
Yeah, he's been the strongest on aggregate of the 3 Elite Motorsports cars. Actually, arguably, I'd say those Elite Motorsport cars have had the pace advantage of pretty much every round this year so far. A bit of a jumbled up results from Alton Park, because of course those 2 wet/dry races where some drivers went on slicks, some drivers went on wets, threw some curveballs in terms of the results. But he is the highest in the championship of those 3 yellow elite cars, but sits the furthest down by quite some margin, away off his teammates who are leading the race at the moment. So this is going to bring balance to the championship down. It's from second down to 4th place. But Dan Ginchard, he's right in a position where he's been all year. He's not dominated that many races, but he's always been there or thereabouts, picking up a number of top 5s. He's only been outside of the top 5 once this year, and that was the first race at Silverstone earlier on at round 4.
Right, there are 12 minutes to go in this race. Let's just run you through the order, shall we? So Bansal turns his way into the left-hander at Agostini in the yellow. That's the 32 car you can see now on screen, the Douglas car, the blue livery of Hilton. So your top 10, it's Bansal, Phelps, Ginchard is fastest on track. On screen, 77 Hunkos, who will be carrying a penalty for his jump start. Hilton is ahead of him. O'Grady is P6. Catoulis is 7th. Then it's Hellman, Ingram Hill. Taylor is P10. Then Berg, Coulthard, Wilson, McLean. Bostandiev is next. Baxter, 17th. And we've got Bruce, Dobson. Pribble has just gone past Mile. And then we've got Airikkala, Ruddock, Watkins and McDaniel. That's your full order. We'll keep you posted. In terms of time remaining, we are down at 11 minutes to go. And we got a battle on screen. Just as we say, what's been happening down the order?
That's the 95. Yeah, just running wide. That's a big hit at the curbs there, just bouncing up. That's Flame Airikkala. She's run wide at the last corner. We saw Jason Pribble do that a couple of times on the first lap. No lasting damage, or unlikely to see any lasting damage from that. But she's clearly pushing on very hard. Bansal at the front of the field actually got things back under control. On lap 2, it was looking like Phelps was going to be pressuring him for a move. It just got about 4 tenths to Phelps. It's just enough that he won't have to defend going down into both the hairpins at turn number 2 and 4.
So we're approaching half race distance now in this race. And the top 3, their gap over 4th place is 1.2 seconds. There it is now. You can just see they have broken away, but Hilton and Hunkos, I mean, Hilton no longer really has to worry, but they've also got a gap. What about Catoulis? Slowly closing in, is just behind the car ahead, which is O'Grady, who we saw have a great run last time out. And then we look a little bit further down the order. I'm sure an easy track, Piers, you've driven around here. It's in parts a congested circuit, so if you get caught in a battle, it's easy to find yourself dropping back, as we see a demonstration of that here.
Yeah, that's Leon Wilson trying to get at the inside of Hamilton, which is not a standard overtaking opportunity. Wilson actually would have been disappointed with his qualifying session, I think. Didn't go quite his way, as he had a wobble through Oggies, as we saw him go through there. He was expecting to be inside the top 10 and potentially challenging for the top 5 when I spoke to him yesterday, but he's now fighting just a bit further down the order. This is a battle between 16th and 15th. That's Wilson in the 27 Arden car, Bostandiev in the green and white number 17 of Pace Performance. As we see Megan Bruce, she's working her way through Brundle and Nelson now on the back of this battle. She had a very, very good weekend, her best weekend in the GB4 Championship to date. Last time out, Alton Park, helped partially by her experience and good car control in wet conditions. She's admitted that she's not quite as comfortable in dry conditions, but pushing on hard in this race.
They're 4th and 9th last time out, which, I mean, it was one of those weekends. It was really down to who was going to go for, who was on the right tyres at the right time, but then executing that strategy at the exact same time.
Absolutely, it was partially selecting the right tyres, but you also then had to drive the race on what was tricky conditions in both slick tyres and wet tyres. It was kind of neither, really. It was damp at times, as we see now a battle between Coulthard and Berg. Is that a move between those two?
Yes.
Looks like it. No, it was an attempted move by Coulthard, but Berg holds on to 11th place.
Coulthard, a really good opportunity for him, fell at the last one as well. An empty grid ahead of him, drove straight through into the podium battle and came through to finish in 2nd place. So boost, a confidence booster for Data in this season, and it's put him into the top 10 in the championship.
Yeah, he's another one of those drivers this year who's doing his first season in car racing, and of course therefore first season in single-seater slicks and wings, and it's a big undertaking when you move from karting as Dayton has. Karting, it's a lot about mechanical grip, and the way you drive a kart is quite different to the way you'll drive a single-seater, especially a GB4 car. But you learn the fundamentals of how to drive and how to get the most out of a racing machine in karting. You then have to sort of almost translate it into a different language of single-seater racing when you've got the additional weight of the car and also the downforce going on the cars as well through corners like this at Coram.
Yeah, one of the trickiest parts of this circuit, from your experience, particularly in conditions like this. It's hot out there. For reference, wherever you're watching from, it's particularly for this country. It's hot out there. And it's a non-stop circuit, really. You got the two straights, but other than that, you are constantly on the move. So how is it for these drivers in comparison to the time we had last time? Is this move might finally come for Catoulis? Yeah,
Catoulis continuing to apply the pressure on the back of the number 3 blue and grey car there of Alex O'Grady. O'Grady, arguably the strongest driver last time out at Alton Park, I think, in terms of results, of first and second in the first 2 races. But it is a tricky circuit, Chris. Technical, fairly narrow, a lot of long corners with subtle camber changes and little bumps. I really enjoy driving around this circuit in what was the BRDC British F3 Championship, now of course rebranded into GB3 in 2020, and a lot of places where you're braking and turning, you know, Brundle and Nelson under the bridge, braking and turning into there, and also you mentioned Coram. That corner goes on for what feels like an eternity, and you're going flat out through the entry. You then have to bleed off the throttle and onto the brake, and that affects how the car, effectively how it rotates, so you have to balance the throttle, the steering and the brake all together. A real good challenge for these drivers, especially in qualifying, but then flipping it on its head in the race. You then have to manipulate the car, especially if you're underneath the rear wing of the car ahead, because you've got slightly less front downforce. We're looking at the leader, Ari Bansal. He's holding that gap at about half a second to our second place driver and his teammate in the 35 of Isaac Phelps.
Well, shortly after you did that race, the BRDC race, we started this championship 2022.
Yes,
here and at Snetterton.
And what a contrast of conditions. That weekend was near zero conditions. It was sleeting, I think, for the first race of the season. The commentator at that time, Lewis McGlade, was sat in this very commentary box. I heard in a 2 coats, whereas today it's 27, 28 degrees ambient, track temperature nudging 40 degrees. So different challenge for these drivers.
Yeah, and hello to Lewis. He will be back from the next round, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to embarrass you. You and Richard Randall, along with Lewis, basically been a part of this championship ever since, and we celebrate 75 races this weekend, and I'm sure this is down to you and Richard. You've done it on the weekend where it's both your birthdays.
Yeah, and it was Lewis McGlade's birthday recently as well, so yeah.
So how did you manage that?
Lewis McGlade, of course, our regular commentator. Great to have you in the commentary box, Chris, but yeah, Richard Randall's Series PR is his birthday today, and I'll be celebrating my birthday tomorrow, but that's irrelevant to the race right now, as we see a potential move from Catoulis as O'Grady goes defensive into Agostini.
Yeah, and does go slightly defensive, the battle heating up, but we'll do that celebration for you tomorrow, Piers. I'm sure it was done on purpose. 75 races we celebrate tomorrow, but more importantly, Piers Prior's birthday. Catoulis getting closer. Will there be a sense of frustration here? Because though his 2 teammates, is this been a good patient drive here from Phelps to just break away with Bansal, or is Bansal just not making any mistakes here and going away? Are we going to see a late challenge, do you think, from Phelps?
I think this is the fact that Phelps isn't able to do anything is born out of the fact that they are so closely matched on pace. I mean, in qualifying it was literally a few hundredths between them, and when you're that close in pace to a driver, to actually, without them making a mistake, to actually get underneath or get close enough to affect a move, especially around a circuit with a lot of medium speed corners, is very hard. But no doubt Bansal was driving a good race, because it's so easy to lock up, as we see some smoke into the final corner, as evidence that someone ahead has locked up and then run wide. That's actually the 32 of Luke Hilton, had some dirt on his tyres coming out of that corner, so maybe no, not quite allowing Hunkos to get through, but you can see O'Grady now defensive down towards turn 1. The main overtaking opportunities around here, turn 1 into Riches, this hairpin coming up at turn 2, and then turn number 4, Agostini is actually a bit closer, is now Phelps in the 35 to our leader of Bansal in the 46.
Yeah, It just takes one mistake here from Bansal. He'll know that, and Phelps likewise. This will be good points for Isaac Phelps over Catoulis. Will it be enough? Yeah, I'd say it'll be enough for a swap as well. This will promote Phelps to second. It will promote him ahead in the championship. There will be swaps. This will be damaging for Catoulis as we do see a change of position there.
Yep, that was Bastangiev with his teammate of McLean. Yeah, so Bastangiev now behind, well, actually McLean. So this is side by side. Baxter in the white, the predominantly white, and then the red flashes, where then right behind him is Wilson in the predominantly red car, the 27. This is the battle between McLean in 13th, Baxter 14th, 15th, Bastangiev, and 16th Wilson. That was the order at the start of this lap anyway. We'll keep an eye on this order, as this looks like a very close battle at the moment.
2 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. Your top 10 is still Bansal leading from Phelps. In third place is still Ginchard, and then it's Hilton, Hunkos, O'Grady, Catoulis, Ingram Hill, Howman, Taylor. Very close out the front, the two elite drivers there. It's absolutely nothing to choose between them as they tip into the final corner. Ginchard has now been forced into settling for a third place unless anything is to kick off between these two teammates. I'd say, what are we looking at now? Is that going to be 2 to go, I'd say, as they come over the line?
Just about 2 laps. It was pretty close. We might just squeeze a third in. But we caught that battle at the end of that battle. That was actually Bastangiev making his way past Baxter on that last lap. So Bastangiev up from 15th to 14th. Baxter demoted from 14th to 15th. But looking at the third place driver, our championship leader, Dan Ginchard. Now, I know Dan well enough to know that he's a thinking driver. I think he knew or knows this race that the elite cars have the pace, and ultimately, unless he's got a big pace advantage or unless they make a mistake, he was unlikely to go through. The gap that he's given himself, 1.1 seconds to the back of Phelps, just enough breathing room that he's not struggling so much with the dirty air, which to me says that I think he's playing this as a bit of a tactical race. I think he's just dropping off, taking his tyres a little bit easier, because I think these tyres, the drivers have to take through the weekend. Obviously, side by side, Baxter defending from Leon Wilson. Baxter in the 45. You can see him coming through there. That looks like he was defending from Wilson into the Agostini. We caught the exit of that. But I think that Dan Ginchard potentially just taking it a little easier on his tyres so he can be stronger for race 2 later on this weekend.
It's been confirmed. Hunkos has been given a 10-second penalty. So I did minor speculate. Did Ari jump? But nope. All okay. So we were right not to continue that speculation. But Hunkos has been given a 10-second time penalty for a jump start. And that's a real shame for him. But it was pretty clear that, unfortunately, just released too early, and that meant that he jumped the start. Over the line we go, and that will be the checkered flag. We didn't get enough time for one more. It will be race win for Ari Bansal as he comes over the line to take the checkered flag. Phelps finishes in second place, Dan Ginchard in third, and it will be a 1-2 finish for the elite team. That's not the first time they've done that this season either. We saw them do that back at round 5, and for the second time this season it is an elite 1 and 2. Last time round it was Phelps leading Catoulis. This time it is Bansal leading Phelps. And that's a great start to the weekend for Ari Bansal, just getting over the line there to make it the checkered flag in this race. So congratulations to Ari Bansal. That is win number 2 of the season, his 4th visit to the podium in 10 rounds, and that should move him up the standings now. Isaac Phelps continuing to tick off podiums. First return to the podium for him since round 5. And for Dan Ginchard, his 4th podium of the season. He's only dropped out of the top 6 positions once so far in this championship, hence why he leads the way. Luke Hilton finishes in 4th place. A great drive for Luke Hilton. That's a personal best result for the Douglas driver. We've seen him appear in the top 5 a couple of times, but he did a great job there to hold off Alex O'Grady, who has taken podiums on a couple of occasions this season. But Luke Hilton looking comfortable there in 4th place. Catoulis 6th place. couldn't quite recover from qualifying, but it is points on the boards. He's had a bit of an unsettling time in terms of his championship, but this kind of settles things for him now, and he'll take the points in that one, I think. Ingram Hill, 7th place. Good drive for Thomas Ingram Hill. Another top 10. That's 2 in a row now for the Fortec driver. Hellman finishes in 8th place next. And then we have in 9th place Hunkos after his penalty. He's demoted to 9th. So still in the top 10 for the Hill Speed driver. Taylor finishing in 10th place. Berg was 11th. And then it was Coulthard, McLean, Bostandiev, Baxter, Wilson, Bruce, Dobson, Pribble, Airikkala, Mile, Ruddock, and then Watkins and McDaniel. Your winner, Ari Bansal, pulls into 1st place, and no trouble in this one. He led us all the way from the start. No one could quite keep up with the pace he was able to contend, and Ari Bansal, that is a perfect start to the weekend for him. His teammate keeping him very honest, but in the end, Ari Bansal, that was a very measured and controlled performance. And with that pace, he's going to be very hard to beat this weekend. And that confirms his championship challenge this season. A well done to the elite motorsport driver, leading home another 1-2 finish for them this season. Those 3 drivers in particular, Catulus, Phelps, Bansal, they've always been very visual in the track, on the feed, and once again they were that time as well. Well done to Isaac Phelps, who didn't quite have the best of runs last time out. Things just didn't really go his way. I guess you could say he was on the wrong tyres at the wrong time, but that's a good way to bounce back, and showed a great mental strength there just to go out and get himself back to where he belongs in this championship. Well done, Ari Bansal. A 2nd winner this season. We saw him there the very first weekend at Donington Park, race 2. Congratulations coming in for Sarah Moore there from Elite. Well done, Ari Bansal. And let's go and get some reaction then down in Parc Fermé. Let's go to Piers Prior.
Yep, down here, just about to get a word with our podium drivers, Ari Bansal and Isaac Phelps. Isaac Phelps just waiting for a high five there, getting left. Ari, do you want to come over in front of your car so we can get an interview? Come on over, come on. We're getting an interview in front of the car. Holding the Indian flag aloft, a great drive from pole position. Your 2nd win in the championship, but this one must feel pretty sweet from pole position.
Yeah, it's good. Managed to nail the start, and yeah, just simple from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it a lot of pressure from your team, Isaac Phelps? You know, he was right there the whole race.
Yes, he was. Yeah, I just had to keep a track on him with my mirrors, and just to make sure that he didn't get too close.
How did you deal with the heat? It's very hot today. I know that can affect the tyres as well.
Yeah, the tyres were quite difficult from the start actually. I had a lot of burnouts around Corum, and I think that actually affected the rears too much. So yeah, I was sliding a lot in the first few laps. Yeah.
So you learned a lot for the race number 2 as well. Of course, going from pole position again tomorrow morning.
Yes. I think if I just do the same thing again, and without as many burnouts. But yeah,
I know you've got a lot of support, of course, lifting the Indian flag up, of course, an Indian driver. Yeah. You know, how does it feel? Anything you want to say to anyone supporting you?
No, not really. Just keep supporting me, I guess.
Amazing. Congratulations, Ari. 2nd win in the championship. I'm going to grab a word with your teammate, Isaac Phelps, now. As he finished in 2nd place, I'll just get him over here. Isaac, can we grab a quick word for the television? Isaac Phelps, also a teammate, number 35, the Elite Motorsport team. Isaac, very close, pushed Ari all the way, but it was a tough race out there.
Yeah, I couldn't really get it close enough to make a move, so I was just trying to stay as close as I can to make him do a mistake, but I couldn't get it done in the end. But I think it was a good result for the team, and I think most importantly we closed points to Ginchard, which is all we really have to aim to do now.
Yeah, and what about the rest of the weekend? Of course, we go again. You'll be near the front of the field for race 2 as well. What can you do in that race?
I think I'm confident that we'll be able to, close the gap to Ari and maybe go for a move for the win. But I think most importantly, I think we're confident that we're the 2 fastest cars and able to just close in on Ginchard.
Amazing. Well, congratulations, another podium for our driver. And our 3rd place driver, Dan Ginchard, currently getting a hug from what I imagine is a family member there. Dan, come on in, we'll get your car in the back of shot here. Dan, is that a family member you're giving a hug there? Who's that?
Yeah, that's my brother.
What's his name?
Freddie.
Freddie's been supporting you all year, hasn't he?
Yeah, always.
And he supported you well enough that you managed to get a podium in that race. That must feel pretty good.
Yeah, it's a shame we couldn't really do much more, but that's just where the pace of the car was. Overall, still happy. It's good points. Hopefully, we can find a bit more for next time. But yeah.
Podium from your position on the grid, not too bad. What do you reckon you can do to potentially get ahead of these yellow cars?
I have no idea. They're so fast around here. We knew it was always going to be a struggle, but we're getting closer, and there we gave them a run for their money.
Yeah, I speculated in commentary that potentially you were looking after the tyres a little bit. Was that just me talking rubbish?
Well, I definitely backed off at the end. Just there was no point sitting in dirty air for 18 minutes straight with nothing really being done. I didn't quite have the pace to get past Isaac, so just trying to save it a little bit for tomorrow.
Amazing. Dan Ginchard, congratulations. Another podium. Still in the championship lead, so we'll see you go tomorrow. That's our top three. Great to hear from them straight after the race. We're going to have the podium in a moment with Chris.
Thank you, Piers. Great to hear from the top three drivers. I'm sure Ari will get more used to thanking his supporters. Just getting used to it all, I'm sure. But great to hear from our top three there. All very deserving, and I think the elite drivers in particular picking up on the right point, saying it just closes things up in the championship, doesn't it? Isaac saying that one. Dan Ginchard making good point, I think, confirming what we thought, that he had just settled for third place in the end. And saving tyres, they only get 6 tyres, not sets, just 6. Dan playing the long game in this one, but still our championship leader. But the gap is closing in this fourth weekend. We will hit the halfway point of the championship this weekend, and Isaac Phelps has got his eye on that championship leader. But on the top spot for the second time this season, it is Ari Bansal, and a congratulations to him, fully deserving of that win. Nothing Dan Ginchard could do about those two today, but a championship leader's drive, I call that. Isaac Phelps steadying the ship. I think that's what I got from him. And for Ari Bansal, very pleased to be back on the top step. And similar to Isaac Phelps, not good fortunes last time, but he's got a real chance to climb up the standings and close the gap to Dan Ginchard. Well, now we've seen the podium celebrations, let's have a look back at how round 10 of GB4 unfolded. Round 10 of the GB4 Championship started with drama. Leandro Juncos, unfortunately, a little bit too quick to get off the line, and he would be given a 10-second time penalty. But out front, it was Ari Bansal leading us from pole position. 4 pole sitters in 4 rounds. The 2 elite cars of Bansal and Isaac Phelps got clean starts from the front row, and they would take us through the first few corners. We would see drivers pushing the limits going round this Snetterton 300 circuit. Battles going on down the field there. Stefan Bostandiev just making some positions, but out front, Ari Bansal led us from start to finish to take his second win of the season. Well, that's a look back at how the race unfolded. 18 minutes of it, and Ari Bansal, the driver, they chased down all the way, but they couldn't quite get him. Here was how the results lined up in the end. Ari Bansal, our winner overall, ahead of Isaac Phelps in second place. Dan Ginchard finished in third place, and it was Luke Hilton in fourth. O'Grady in 5th place, Katulis in 6th, Ingram Hill in 7th, Howman in 8th, Juncos in 9th, Taylor in 10th, and then Berg, Coulthard, McLean, Bostandiev 14th, Baxter 15th, Wilson 16th, and Bruce, Dobson, Pribble. Airikkala on debut in 20th, Mile 21st, then Ruddock, Watkins, McDaniel rounded out the field. And that was the full results from round 10. I believe Piers has now moved a little bit further around the paddock, so let's get more reaction from round 10.
So there we have it, round 10 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Not exactly a scintillating race on the circuit for the lead positions, but we've got plenty more racing coming up this weekend. 2 more races this weekend, including rounds 11 and then rounds 12. They're both coming tomorrow. Looking for, actually, we're going to have a quick word with team owner for Eddie Ives there. Yeah, he's, of course, the team manager of both of the drivers on the top 2 steps of the podium. Eddie, another win, another double podium. Things are going very well for you this season. What's the secret?
Just working really hard. Yeah, we were winning last time out, but then we've gone away, done even more work, been over in Spain the last few weeks testing, just constantly developing, constantly striving to be better and go further forward. But look, I couldn't do it without the team around us, and we've got top class drivers, so it makes our job a lot easier.
Yeah, I can see there's a lot of smiles around the Elite Motorsport paddock awning at the moment. Of course, it helps that you're winning, but also seems like a good atmosphere there as well.
Yeah, and not just in GB4, we're winning in Janetta Juniors half hour ago, so yeah, it's a good vibe throughout all our awnings this week.
Absolutely, and then I know that you've got a good chance of another good result in race 2 coming up this weekend. Reverse grid always a bit more stressful for yourself. What do you think is, what sort of things are the team saying to your drivers for that one?
Yeah, I think we're being quite harsh on the drivers now. We feel like we've been fastest at most rounds, but not been leading the championship. So for us, it's about long-term game and bagging points, basically. So yeah, they've been very strictly told not to hit each other. They can race hard, race fair, but not hit each other and get as many points as we can. And hopefully we can claw back the gap to Dan. But he's also a top class driver and driving very well.
No doubt at all. You're currently leading the way in the team championship. It looks like you're going to have a good. Well, if things keep going the way they are, you could be good in that one. But we'll see how the drivers get on for the rest of the season. Eddie, thanks very much for chatting to us. Team manager, team owner, team coordinator. I don't know exactly, but for Elite Motorsport, he's the man behind it all. Really, that brings it all together. They're doing very well this season. Let me remind you of what's coming up tomorrow for rounds 11 and 12 this weekend. It's going to be 10:05 race start for round number 11 tomorrow morning. That's race start, so if you want to join us for the pre-show, then you'll join us around about 20 minutes before then, so about 9:40, 9:45 we'll be live. It's more interviews with some drivers, and then in the afternoon for round number 12 we have the reverse grid, top 12 reverse. That's going to be at 4:20 green flags, therefore join us just before 4 p.m. for that pre-show as well. That's always one to watch. Thank you very much for joining us here at round number 10. Elite Motorsport still leading the way. Dan Ginchard, though, not far off on the podium. He still leads the way in the championship. We'll see you for round number 11 tomorrow morning here in the GB4 Championship.